So by now I'm pretty sure everybody has seen this article, the 10 best comics of 2017, presented by Vice. And I'm sure this was written by some hipster douche that knows absolutely nothing about comic books, but yet had to give us a complete dumpster fire of shit that nobody gave a fuck about. Thank you, Vice. Go back to complaining about Trump. Nobody cares. Welcome back, Pixel Nation. Comics Division here. Happy New Year. I hope all of you are doing well. Well, I figured it was about time I did a new video. I've been slacking off. I figured it was probably about time I should get back to it, because I've been lazy. Really fucking lazy. Also, I found out I have 4 short boxes full of comics I haven't read in the last 2 years. I'm beginning to think I have a problem. But that's besides the point. I'm here to talk about my favorite comics of 2017. More specifically, my top 10 for Marvel, DC, and Independents. Now, if you are a big fan of I Love Comics, you'll know that I was on a live stream a couple times with Anglintine and Chef Jack, where I talked about my top 10 Marvel and DC. So yeah, you probably may have already seen some of this. But what you haven't seen is my top 10 independent comics. So I'm going to go ahead and kick you off with my top 10 Marvel, obviously starting at number 10 and working my way down. And number 10, I have Moon Knight. Now, Moon Knight is actually a pretty good comic from Marvel, but, and this is a huge but, I don't recommend it, mainly because Max Bemis is a bit of an ass. He goes out and he insults the fans. How can you support a guy who's basically a dick to you? Now at number 9, I have Doctor Strange. Now I have been enjoying Jason Aaron's run on it, as well as the art by Bocello. I really enjoyed his artwork on Uncanny X-Men, which really drew me into Doctor Strange. Now I know some people had some issues with like the Last Days of Magic. I actually found it to be pretty interesting, but once we got over to Secret Empire is where I lost interest. Now I've heard that Donny Cates has been doing a great job on Doctor Strange, so I am actually considering picking it up again. At number 8, I have Punisher War Machine. This felt more like an actual Punisher book rather than the half-assed Punisher that refuses to use guns or some shit. I read the first 2 issues and I was like, I'm so not interested in this. But for the most part, Punisher War Machine felt like the Punisher to me, and that's why it's at number 8. At number 7, I have The Amazing Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows. Now, this is the Spider-Man we've been wanting, because it's not Dan Slott. Oh, and the book is actually pretty good too. Now, we have a lot of things in here I know that the fans have been wanting. We have Mary Jane and Peter still being married. They have a kid, Annie Mae Parker, who is inherited Spidey's abilities. And it's really about them as a family unit. Now, sometimes it does feel like Peter Parker does take a bit of a backstage to Annie Mae and Mary Jane, but honestly, it's not bad. And like I said, it's not Dan Slott. At number 6, I have The Spirits of Vengeance. Now, this book I seriously love. It deals with a lot of interesting topics that I find very fascinating, specifically within the Christian mythos. And what I mean by that, dealing with some of the historical aspects, things that are not necessarily canon. Now the main storyline revolves around Judas's 30 pieces of silver. You know, what the Romans gave him to sell out Jesus, and this is being forged into a weapon that can be used to kill an archangel. Pretty fascinating stuff. If that's right up your alley, I highly suggest this book. Go check it out, it's great. At number 5, I have Old Man Logan, which so far has been a pretty damn good book, I have to say. Unfortunately, I am rather behind on it. Remember that 4 short boxes of comics I haven't read yet? Yeah, a lot of those things are in there. Well, when I last remember, it was actually a pretty good book, and it had some interesting stories going on. I do have to say, I am looking forward to the return of the actual Wolverine. God only knows when this is going to happen this year. Hopefully it happens. And at number 4, I have Venom. Now I have to say, I have been enjoying Costa's writing. It hasn't been perfect, but overall I do think we are getting a pretty good Venom story. It is completely devoid of the identity politics that we all hate. However, I do miss Sandoval as the artist because, oh my god, I love the way he was drawing Venom. And man, did he make Venom look really terrifying. Now, Bagley is the current artist on Venom. For the most part, his artwork's not bad. I do enjoy it. I just happen to prefer Sandoval instead. At number 3, I have Cable. Now, Cable, and this is gonna sound really fucking sad, feels like a Marvel book. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's kind of pathetic, actually. But it's good. It's an enjoyable book. It feels like it is a Marvel book again. I'm not sure how that slipped under the identity politics radar of the SJW Marvel, but thank God, because it's good. You guys should definitely go check this book out. At number 2, I have the Marvel 2-in-1. Now, I've been hyping this book a lot because it has been such a good story so far. Now, I know that there's going to be a change of artists, which is unfortunate because the artwork for this book has been fantastic. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that are very, very critical of Chip Zdarsky, and rightfully so, but this book is good. Now, whether he can keep it up or not, I guess we'll find out in 2018. Hopefully it will be good, because so far I've thoroughly enjoyed the story. I can definitely relate to the content of how people deal with their own grief when they lose friends and family. If you haven't read it already, go check it out, give it a chance. I know it's Chip Zdarsky, but everybody loves the comeback. Hopefully he can keep it up. If not, well, you know he'll be back on my shit list. And at number 1, I have Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. Now, when this book started off, I'll be honest with you, it's complete crap. And you can go find my review of number 2 where I roast the fuck out of this book. But when Chip Zdarsky started doing the Most Wanted storyline, I have to say, and has greatly improved. He stopped a lot of those bad dad jokes, and there was a lot of weight to the story with Peter being hunted by the authorities. I do recommend it, starting around, I think, like issue 4 or 5. Now, again, like I said before, with the Marvel 2-in-1, can Zdarsky keep it up? I don't know. We'll have to find out in 2018. That was the top 10 Marvel. So now, moving on to DC. Now at number 10, I have the Darkseid Oversized Special. And the reason why this book is great is because during Jack Kirby's birthday, it seems like DC paid more attention to Jack Kirby than Marvel did. And this is a great jumping on point if you're not familiar with Darkseid. It gives you some really interesting stories that you can sink your teeth into. And at number 9, I have the New God Special, specifically for the exact same reasons as I do for the Darkseid Oversized Special. If you are not familiar with the New Gods, this is a great jumping on point. Again, DC was celebrating Jack Kirby's 100th birthday. It's a good book. I highly recommend you go check it out. At number 8, I have Batman. Now, I do feel that Tom King has been killing it with this book. I know there was a bit of a rocky start, but I think that the series has gotten better as it's been going on. I just got done reading Double Date, which is actually a pretty good story. Now you think because it is dealing with a double date between Batman and Catwoman and Lois and Clark, that it's kind of fluff. I mean, it kind of is a little bit, but overall, it is an enjoyable story. It does have some action, but it primarily deals with the dynamics between Batman and Catwoman and how can this relationship work. You have the crime fighter and the criminal. It's kind of a recipe for disaster, but overall, the book is good. And I do recommend you check the series out. At number 7, I have Batman and the Shadow. Now this is a crossover between DC and Dynamite. This book is actually really good. I do suggest you check it out. Now it's interesting because the themes that they're playing on, that the Shadow was one of Bruce Wayne's mentors, and that he helped shape the Batman. At number 6, I have The Flash. Now I picked up the series right in the middle of the Negative Flash story arc. I did manage to get all the books that covered it, not everything that led up to it though. And I have to say, I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed it so much, I'm actually trying to go and find all of the floppy copies rather than doing what I normally do, which is just go and buy the digitals. Number 5, I have Batman, Creature of the Night. Now I have to agree with Englentine on this one. This is basically Death Note, but with Batman. Well, a bat creature. It is an interesting take on the Batman tale where Batman is actually a comic, and you have Bruce Wainwright, a kid who very much so parallels Bruce Wayne because his parents are murdered, and he ends up dreaming up this creature to go and avenge the death of his parents. And at number 3, Nightwing New Order. Oh my god, this series is fantastic. This is everything that Secret Empire should have been. DC managed to pull off something that Marvel completely failed at. Number 2, Batman the White Knight. Now, I was up in the air on this one. I was torn because I felt it should have been number 1, but there's another book that only slightly beats it out, and I'm pretty sure you guys already know it's Mr. Miracle. White Knight, I know there were a lot of concerns about it. Now, this is how you present politics in a comic book without coming off as a self-righteous hack, trying to shove your political agenda down the throats of your audience. Dick Spencer. It provides both sides of the argument in a very respectful way, and it is a very interesting book. Sean Gordon Murphy, seriously dude, you've done a great job with this book, and again, he's a hell of a guy, promoting it on Twitter. He's getting people excited. If you're not reading this book, you seriously need to go check it out. And at number 1, we have Mr. Miracle. Surprise, surprise. It's not like I already said this. Anyway, the best way for me to describe this book is it pops my brain out, promptly fists it, and shoves it back in my skull. This series is a joyride from hell. I have no idea what's going on, but I fucking love it. Now I'm actually looking forward to this series to complete, so I can go back and reread everything, so I can figure out what the fuck is going on. But it is done in such a way where, God, I want more! And now for the independents. Kicking us off at number 10, I have The Shadow and Batman. And no, I'm not just repeating it because it was in DC. Now a blood vessel did not just burst in my head, and I'm repeating myself. Now this is the continuation, but on the Dynamite side. The reason why it's at number 10 and not lower is because, well, it's quite frankly not as good, but still an enjoyable series. And at number 9, we have Transformers Lost Light. This is a continuation of the Transformers series, More Than Meets the Eye, which is actually a pretty interesting story. I actually enjoy Lost Light. Now, I know that it's gotten some shit over the whole putting the trans and Transformer thing. It's actually really not a big deal, but I can see why people don't like it. At number 8, I have Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files. This series covers the Dogmen. Now, I've never actually read the books itself, but I did watch the TV series that came out roughly a decade ago. Now, if you're not familiar with the concepts of urban fantasy, you basically have magic and monsters set in an urban setting, and this is basically what you get with the Dresden Files. And at number 6, we have Rags, a zombie shopping spree. This is written by Brian Ball and Trent Luther. I do know Brian from Discord. I did a review of the Prelude last year. It is actually a fantastic independent book. Now, my understanding is it might get picked up by IDW, so fingers crossed. Hopefully, we'll be seeing this book on shelves very, very soon. At number 5, I have Rat Queens. Now, this has been described as a love letter to D&D. I personally enjoy this book. It is a very enjoyable book. Now, I know that some people thought initially that this was a very SJW book because it features an all-female cast. This is actually not the case, but it is highly humorous, irreverent, and entertaining. At number 4, I have Dark Ark by Cullen Bunn. Now, this is an interesting book. Again, you're getting into more of that kind of Christian mythos because this series is about what if Satan had his own ark. Instead of filled with creatures from the natural world, it was filled with monsters. At number 3, I have God Complex. I'll be honest with you, this book is kind of hard to describe. There are some pretty interesting religious themes to the book. It does take place in the future. It's kind of funny for an atheist. I find stories about religion to be very fascinating. So you have these individuals that are known as the rulers. They're basically that. They are the rulers. They wear these kind of funky helmets. You don't know what they look like. And then you have the Church of the Trinity. And they have this digital god that has gone off and escaped into the stream. And this detective is out there to go track it down. Like I said, it's hard to explain, but it's an interesting read. So if you're interested in books that have weird kind of religious themes that take place in the future, go check it out. And at number 1, I have The Damned. Now, I love this book. The best way for me to describe it, very kind of pulpy noir story that takes place in the 1920s, but the twist on it is you have demons. Demons as gangsters. The main protagonist of the story is Eddie, and Eddie is a cursed human. Anytime he dies and somebody touches him, they die, and Eddie resurrects. I cannot recommend this book enough. It is interesting. If you find these things, if you enjoy a good pulpy noir story mixed in with horror, this book is definitely for you. So that's it, guys. That is my top 10 Marvel, DC, and Independent. So it's your turn. Tell me what your top 10 DC, Marvel, and Independent comics were. If you don't have a top 10, maybe a top 5, just drop it in the comments. That's all I have. If you enjoyed this video, please click that like button. If you're new to this channel and you can tolerate the sound of my voice, click that subscribe button. Bash that bell for notifications. And until next time, enjoy your reads.